Wow, so Marvel just decided to shoot their whole load. Can you believe that?
The entire load, yeah.
We know everything from now till 220 or something like that?
A long time. We'll be very old when this Marvel's done. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess we better sit back and start putting our money away now because Marvel is going to take all of our money.
No kidding. You ain't kidding about that. Just start moving into the kids' college funds and stuff, man.
Oh, and then if you're going to see it in the IMAX for some of these, that's going to be even crazier.
Keep peeling it off, right?
Right. Well, hey, gang, you know who this is. This is Vega Brahman. I'm here with my special co-host today,
Matt, DVT.
That's right, DVT in the house. And again, we're shooting on location because since we're going to talk about Marvel today, why not talk about these Marvel action figures, which now are going to all be in a movie. So it's incredible. So we're going to talk about that, and then you'll know where you need to come to get this stuff before the movie gets out, because you may want to buy it before everybody else jumps in and starts buying up all the Miss Marvel stuff and the Black Panther stuff, because you know that's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. We have it really cheap right now, too. About $5-10 cheaper than eBay. So.
Ooh, see there? How about that?
Good time to jump on. A good investment, right?
That's right. See, you can take eBay out. So here's the deal, man. I was sitting there at home, all of a sudden this big announcement came out, and all of a sudden they just decided, Kevin Feige, they even had a little event inside one of the studios there, or one of the little cinema type places there in California, and they had Robert Downey Jr. there, and they had Chris Evans there, and then they introduced Chadwick Boseman because he's going to be the Black Panther, not the next Black Panther, but the Black Panther.
I think it was cool. It shows that he's really up there on their level too, right? Like Cap and Iron Man. It's like we're up here, so I think that's where he belongs. That's where he is in the comics. So.
Yeah, that's exactly, because he totally was an Avenger. So we know from Kevin Feige now that there's going to be, obviously it's going to be Captain America 3. It's going to be Civil War. So we're going to get to see Tony and Cap fight again like they did in Avengers, except for in Avengers they were kind of arguing more with each other. But this time they'll get to fight, I guess, in Civil War, if they follow that storyline.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. Then they also mentioned that Thor Ragnarok was going to be the third Thor, so that's going to be pretty big. A lot of people are very familiar with that storyline. It's a pretty big, popular storyline, if I believe, from Thor.
Yeah, I've never read that one. I know that that's pretty much the end of Thor, though, isn't it, in the comics? That's the
it was like Armageddon or something?
Yeah, it's where the Surtur comes to the Earth, and Thor and Loki have to fight him, and it's pretty much the end of Asgard. Isn't Ragnarok
that's what I thought
generally
too.
Considered to be the end of the Viking gods? So.
Yeah, see, now I'm going to have to check it back up before that comes out, but we got plenty of time, thank goodness for that. Then they mentioned, of course, that there would be a Miss Marvel, so yay, about time. I mean, she's essentially Marvel's Wonder Woman, and she's pretty BA. I mean, Black Widow is cool and all because of Scarlett Johansson, but come on, power-wise, Black Widow really can't hold a candle to Miss Marvel. No,
Miss Marvel's got like the really powerful, like super powers.
Yeah.
So that should be interesting, and I think they haven't announced who's going to play Ms. Marvel yet, right?
They haven't yet, and that's what's going to keep us all hanging in there, because we're going to want to know who's going to play Ms. Marvel. We're going to want to know who's going to be the director for the Black Panther film.
Is she going to be in Age of Ultron?
Who knows? If they're playing their cards right, they might. I think they should tease all of those movies since those movies are coming. Yeah. It would make sense, rather than doing like a Howard the Duck piece at the end of a movie.
Yeah. Yeah. That was funny. It just wasn't like... I don't know. They'd set kind of a high bar for those post-credit scenes. You're like, Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Why Howard the Duck? Because I don't know. I don't care if they make that movie. That's one of the Marvel properties I won't see, and they're already pushing very hard just to get me to go see Ant-Man. Because I got to be honest, I'm really not that excited about Ant-Man.
Yeah. No, it doesn't seem like it's headed in the right direction. I had a lot of problems early on. Edgar Wright backed out, and I don't know, man. I really don't have a good feeling about Ant-Man. It's not like. Feels like it might kind of be the opposite of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
You know, like they weren't able. Like Guardians of the Galaxy gets the most out of this a little bit. Seems like Ant-Man might kind of not be able to get the most out of a lot. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, because even right now, from a hype standpoint, they're not even really talking about Ant-Man. They're talking about Age of Ultron. People are talking about Star Wars, of course. That's still Disney. And people are excited about Black Panther, Miss Marvel. And then, of course, they're doing the Inhumans, I think, in 2019.
I know.
And they're doing, again, Avengers, a two-parter, and the Infinity War or something like that.
Infinity War, yeah. It's I assume they'll film them all at once and then release them. I think they're only a year apart, right?
I think so, yeah.
So, and then I just assume, I don't know for sure, but it seems like after that you wait a little while and just go ahead and reboot.
No, I think that's exactly right. So now we have all these movies everybody's been screaming for, right? Everybody wanted to see a Black Panther movie, thank goodness. Everybody wanted to see a Miss Marvel movie, thank goodness. There are some people who really wanted to see an Inhumans movie. We got that. And then, of course, just the storylines of Civil War, everybody wanted to see that. And if you did Thor, people wanted to see Ragnarok. We're going to get that. So it sounds like Marvel's either listening to the fans, they're listening to our videos, watching our videos.
Probably, probably these videos is what's doing, I would guess. I don't know, man, but is that really what we want? Because you have to assume Civil War means you're going to lose Chris Evans. And then does Ragnarok mean you also lose Thor? You lose Chris Hemsworth too?
Yeah.
I mean, it has to mean that, right?
Well, yeah.
Those guys, it's not the best kept secret. Those two guys aren't super... I don't know. They're not super I don't know. Like Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr. You know, like he's taken that as part of him.
True.
And I don't know if Captain America and Thor have the same kind of feelings. I think they're kind of like, yeah, we'll do it, and I don't know. Like maybe they're ready to move on to their own things. And this might be their way to do that.
And really, they should, because if you sign actors to these 6-year, 7-year, 8-year deals, at some point, 1 year filming, 1 year not filming, and the next one, and then doing little cameos. At some point, that whole formula's got to get tired. As an actor, you won't grow if you keep playing the same character over and over again. So I think that makes actually sense that they would do that with Cap, because now that we have Bucky, you know, and now we have the Falcon introduced, he could easily be Captain America for a little while, and maybe they can make that happen in the film as well. So, and I think it's kind of a good thing, because you notice they didn't announce a Hulk movie.
I know.
And we see why, because the last one with Edward Norton, which I thought was a pretty decent movie, didn't do so on the box office. In fact, I think it did the worst out of all the Marvel films that came out since Iron Man started it back in 2008, because Hulk came out that same year, and I think it didn't do as well. And you can see they're saying, well, forget that. And so, or at least for now.
I think they think that the Hulk is better as a side character than he is supporting his own movie. And so far, that appears to be the truth. I think you could do a really cool World War Hulk movie.
That'd have to be the one.
But I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. I guess they're like, you know, we've tried that. 0 for 2. They're they know how strong a presence he is in the Avengers movie, so they're probably just like, let's not worry about screwing something up. Let's not pick something that's not broke.
Yeah, and I think you're right about how they're going to probably treat Captain America and Thor, because Thor right now, if you take Hulk out of the picture, not getting a standalone, Thor then is the worst performing standalone, because Thor 2 did abysmal compared to Cap 2. Cap 2 was awesome, but Thor 2
That's weird, right? Because, I really wasn't expecting that much out of Captain America 2, but I was really, really pleasantly surprised. And then you go see Thor, and you're like, what happened? You know, I don't know, was it Kenneth Branagh as the director, or what? I think, like we talked about this once, that I think Thor may have had lower expectations, but that second one, that was rough.
Yeah,
that was a rough watch.
Yeah, it really was. And, you know, we didn't talk much about Thor 2 before, but, I mean, when you have weak villains like Malekith, and you have to go back and have Whedon come in and rewrite Loki's part to make it interesting, which is surprising that they wouldn't stick with the Loki theme, since that seems to work the best for them. You know?
Yeah, I know. Like, maybe they're trying to not beat Loki into the ground because they used him in Thor, and then they used him in the Avengers, and now they're saying he's going to be in Avengers Age of Ultron, and he's going to be in Thor Ragnarok. So I guess they're trying to say, okay, well, let's try to say maybe in this movie he's not a bad guy. Like, I guess they're trying to change it up. But if Loki's not the bad guy, who do you make as the bad guy? And I don't know. They may have got a little caught up on that movie. It was not good.
Yeah, and it looks like now it's going to be Thanos, but now Thanos, to me, is going to have some big competition with Ultron, because right now Ultron seems pretty awesomely bad.
Ultron is like really, I don't know, Thanos is obviously the universal threat, so I think the Infinity War is going to really tie in all the movies, including Guardians of the Galaxy. But Ultron, if you read the Avengers comic, he's like their toughest enemy. You know, like he really is. He destroys them every time. You know, it should be interesting, and I really like the James Spader casting choice as Ultron. The no strings thing. Ooh,
yeah.
Scary. Man.
And see, the reason why you can feel bad in a way for Ant-Man, because in the comics,
who's his bad guy?
It was who's his bad guy, and then like in the comics, it was it was Hank Pym. It was
Yeah.
it was Ant-Man who created Ultron, but now they've switched it in the movie cinematic universe to say it was Tony. So if Tony builds them, do you really need another smart guy superhero if you've already got Hulk and you got Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark?
Is he even a smart guy? Because Scott Lang isn't really like a...
Well, he isn't, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right, they're going to focus on Scott Lang, which again, that sounds like that might be a problem. Like,
Yeah, I know.
most people who are fans of Ant-Man, they're fans of Hank Pym.
I know,
Because
yeah.
he was one of the original Avengers, and then he ended up being Goliath at one point, and
Giant Man.
Yellow Jacket, and Giant Man, which I love Yellow Jacket. If they ever were to do another movie that seemed like it was an insignificant movie to other people that I would love, it'd definitely be Yellow Jacket. Just think of a super smart Ant-Man that has the attitude of Wolverine. So, to me, that's what I like to see. But right now, we got to contend with all these. So, what do you think? Which one of all these movies do you think is going to do the best, or is it hard to say, or where would you put them in priority in terms of how they'll probably do?
I think as far as money made, I think that the Infinity War movies are going to really... I think Batman v Superman is going to kick it up. Well, Avengers Age of Ultron and then Batman v Superman, but then by the time we get to Infinity War, they're just going to be printing money. I really think so.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest surprise movies, I think Black Panther is going to really take people by surprise. He's not a character that a lot of people are familiar with. And as far as strong African American heroes, there's not a lot for kids to look up to.
Right.
I mean, kind of a few, but isn't Black Panther? Would you rate anybody higher than Black Panther?
I wouldn't. I would say that Black Panther is probably number one. Then you have to go to Luke Cage second.
Yeah,
and
Cyborg is
Falcon.
Recently, they tried to make Cyborg in DC kind of come up, and there's a Jon Stewart who is a Black Green Lantern, but none of those are like were ever treated the way that Black Panther was. Black Panther's a real deal. He's a king, and he's one of the best Avengers. I really think that movie is going to take a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah, and in fact, since they don't have Spider-Man to cross over, I think you can have Black Panther play the role that Spider-Man played in Civil War.
Yeah, because nobody in Marvel has a secret identity. So, like, what are we protecting in Civil War?
Right.
Whose secret identity are we protecting?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, because Captain America has a mask, but he never wears it.
Yeah, and it's kind of known that Steve Rogers is Captain America. I mean, maybe not to, like, Joe Schmo, but, I mean, he had his mask off for, like, the last hour of the movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's got to be a lot of pictures of him, right? So, I don't know. Like, who has a secret identity? Black Widow testified in Congress or something, so I don't think they swore her in as Black Widow.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that who... You have to introduce something.
Yeah.
Right? To say, like, well, we got to protect these guys' identity. And yeah, maybe T'Challa comes in there and plays that role. They keep saying that maybe they'll bring Spider-Man in. And I really don't see why Sony wouldn't do it. I mean, wouldn't it only help them make more money? It would give their movie...
Yeah, it turns out that'll be a fight for who gets what cut of what.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a fight about, well, how much screen time does he get? And you're not putting our guy in there enough. And it'll turn into some petty stuff like that.
Eventually, there'll be a world... where you can see Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and the Avengers all in one. Eventually, we might not be here, but eventually I think that'll happen.
Well, and to the other side, I might take the other side, do we really need Spider-Man and the Avengers, though? When you think of who all's in the Avengers already, don't. Do you really need him? I mean, he's just going to be the smart alecky teenager type guy that's always saying things, and I guess that's cool, but really how that fits with all the other characters, they're so different. I don't really know that you need Spider-Man. In Avengers, you do need Spider-Man movies for sure. But does he really have to be in the movie just to make it good? I mean,
no, of course not.
So I'm thinking this, but to your point, back to Black Panther for sure. It'll give the Marvel Cinematic Universe something that we just haven't seen, because now if you shoot it in Wakanda, now you got a different landscape. It's always New York with New York taxi cabs flipping over because the Hulk's running down the street. And,
Marvel's all about New York.
Yeah, it's like everything that always happens seems to happen in New York. I realized Thor was somewhere else, but still, it all seems to come back there. And then, of course, all the Spider-Man movies are in New York, the X-Men movies, Fantastic Four.
I would move.
Yes, it's like, come on.
I would move to California.
You're a dumb criminal if all you want to do is just focus on New York for your crime.
In New York.
You need to go to Wyoming. You need to go to Idaho or someplace like that. There are no superheroes over there.
That's the country.
That's what I would do. But see, with Wakanda Story, you're right. I like it too, because think about this. This movie literally could be 300 meets Iron Man 1. Right? Because they're a warrior tribe. You could play that up just like in 300, the Spartans. But then they have the tech of like an Iron Man there. So that would be a wonderful blending. If you took Iron Man 1 and 300 and put them on top of each other, and then add their ties to the Avengers, we haven't seen nothing like that on screen.
Wakanda is known because it has the vibranium or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I assume that's how they'll bring him into it. Something with the vibranium, and we need to talk to the king. So I think that they'll tie it in real nicely, and I think they'll really treat him like a top tier character. Yeah, I really do. I really do believe that they'll do that.
Yeah, and that'll open up the market space, and it'll show Hollywood that we're not in the '60s anymore. It's like, that's not the only thing that drives movies is skin color. People will go see it if it's a good story.
You can have an African American movie that doesn't have Kevin Hart in it.
Or be a Tyler Perry movie or something like that. It isn't made specifically just for these people because you have more than 3 people that are of color in the movie. I mean, I think we're at that place now where people just want to go see something good.
Should be.
You know, and that's great on Marvel. And for Marvel to try to get to that before DC, even better.
DC announced the Cyborg movie too, but it's not even going to be able to touch that. I don't know how that guy can get his own movie.
Yeah, me either. It's like, how can you get a Cyborg movie when it took forever to get a Wonder Woman movie? I mean, how many people know who Cyborg is compared to Wonder Woman?
No, very, very few.
DC is just kind of crazy how they did that. Now, in the mix of all this, now the big question is going to become, so if we get all the movies that we want, and then you have Fox throwing out their Fantastic Fours, the X-Men Apocalypse, and all the Deadpool and all these other movies, and then Sony throws out more Sinister Six and more Spider-Man movies. Are we crowding the box office? With
I don't know.
stuff?
I think they're really, really trying. Spider-Man putting out all these extra movies is very strange to me. Yeah. When I heard they were making a Sinister Six, I still don't understand it. Is Spider-Man in it? Yeah. Is it a movie about him fighting the Sinister Six? Or is this about them coming to... I really don't get it. I'm not trying to be funny. I really don't get what is this movie about, you know? So, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see, but it seems kind of bizarre. Because that movie comes before the next Spider-Man movie. Yeah. So, I assume it'll be him fighting the Sinister Six. They're just not calling it Spider-Man 3, which... Right. Just kind of weird, kind of confusing. And, I do... Back to what you're saying, I do think that we might be oversaturated. Especially with... Marvel, Disney announces all theirs, and then DC then Disney announced theirs, and then you've already got all the Sony ones, and Fox now saying they're going to make Deadpool, and they said they're going to make a Gambit movie with Channing Tatum.
I think they're talking about that too. Yeah.
So I mean that's a lot of superhero movies.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I get it because they're making a lot of money off these movies right now, so you're going to put out as many as you can. So I get it from that perspective, but at the same time, you know what happens. The more and more you crowd the shelves with stuff, it's no longer unique anymore because there's tons of it everywhere.
That's all you have.
You walk into a Walmart and you see Batman, Superman logos on almost everything in there, and after a while you get tired. You kind of want to go find something that doesn't look like Batman and you want to root for it or something.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just curious, but that's fads because remember Westerns used to be real big and then they died.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, and then all of a sudden every movie's a Western. And it's like, okay, well, do we have
and then the war movies, we went through that, Full Metal Jacket and all that stuff. Yeah. And then we got Saving Private Ryan to bring it back a little bit. They did Wind Talkers.
So many World War II movies.
And then they died.
Yeah. Too many of them. You just can't keep doing it. But hopefully these movies, I mean, I think comic book movies are a little different. I think they have a much bigger core audience.
They do.